First, if we look at the graph of life expectancy versus age of first marriage throughout the whole world, we can clearly see a trend. There is a positive correlation showing that the longer people are living, the later they are getting married. But if we look at how this has changed over time, it clearly shows that they both have increased. Let's focus in on a few developed countries in particular: the United States, Germany, and Australia. As we follow the trends of these countries through the 20th century, we can see that they all follow relatively the same track. Specifically, we notice a drastic change in the 60s and 70s. One speculation into the reason for this trend is the development and growing popularity of birth control. Birth control has been around for years prior, but was never fully trusted and not even legal in the United States. It wasn't until 1972 that birth control was legal to all citizens of the U.S. This meant that there would be less shotgun marriages, as Business Insider refers to them, claiming as birth control and abortion have become more freely available, it's less likely that a pregnancy will result in rapid marriage. Birth control meant people weren't having as many children and thus didn't feel the societal pressures to get married after an accidental pregnancy. This means people are getting married later in life, despite, as the graph shows, that the life expectancy began to level off.
Although the general shape of the graph suggests that a high life expectancy correlates with a high age of first marriage, there are several countries which upset this rule. One example is the United States. The U.S. begins its life expectancy increase around 1900, but during this period of life expectancy increase, the age of first marriage either stagnates or trends slightly down. In 1940, it begins to trend heavily down, even despite a steady rise in life expectancy. It's not until the 1970s that the age of first marriage takes off, keeping pace with the life expectancy, and creating the sort of direct relationship graph that we probably expected all along. How can we explain this phenomenon of an age of first marriage that decreases to coincide with an increase in life expectancy in the 1940s? The explanation likely lies with World War II. Young people were likely inspired to marry in the face of the war because young men felt that they could be drafted and sent away from home for a while, if perhaps not even to return at all. Some young men might have married in order to exploit the draft's paternity deferment policy, which allowed committed fathers to defer conscription on the grounds of their family's dependence on them. In any case, we should understand that life expectancy increases principally as a function of the quality and availability of medical care. The National Institute of Aging credits the general increase in life expectancy to the victory of medicine over infectious and parasitic diseases, especially smallpox, polio, and measles, diseases which typically killed children.
One underlying explanation or contributing factor for the correlation between life expectancy and age at first marriage is education. In countries with higher life expectancies, generally the GDP and quality of life is better, meaning more resources such as education are popular and available. One reason that the amount of education women receive correlates with their age at first marriage is that women who spend a longer amount of time in school get better jobs, which they focus on rather than getting married so young. According to pewresearch.org, workers with at least a bachelor's degree had median annual earnings of $45,500, well over the medians for people with only some college or high school diploma. So with these jobs, women are prioritizing their careers and personal income before getting married and having a family. A study from The Atlantic reports that a significant portion, more than 85%, of young respondents thought that having your life financially together before having kids was incredibly important. One country exemplifying the correlation between amount of education and age at first marriage is Niger. According to girlsnotbrides.com, Niger has the highest rate of child marriage in the world. 3 out of 4 girls get married before they're 18. The legal age of marriage there is 15. One reason is the extreme level of poverty in Niger. When girls get married, their economic and social status go up for them and their parents. There is a significant correlation between education and child marriage. 81% of women aged 20 to 24 with no education and 63% with only primary education were married or in union at age 18, compared to only 17% of women with secondary education or higher.